It's Saturday the 20th of May, I'm Jamie East, and this was a week that saw Zelensky pop into checkers, the Tories and Labour shape up for the general election, Italy struggle with floods, and Liverpool hosting a Eurovision spectacular. Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
But not the news. Ukrainian President Zelensky spent the week clocking up air miles, starting with a trip to the Pope in Rome on Saturday, then Germany and France. While in Germany, he picked up a new aid package worth £2.7 billion and expressed his thanks to Germany Chancellor Olaf Scholz. He said the priority is to clear Russia out of Ukraine.
We will not attack Russian territory. We are preparing a counter-offensive to deoccupy the illegitimately conquered territories within the framework of our legitimate borders, which are recognised worldwide.
Next stop was the UK, and Rishi Sunak had a bit of a fanboy moment when he greeted him at the official country residence Chequers.
You are actually the first foreign leader that I've had the privilege of welcoming here as Prime Minister. Your leadership, your country's bravery and fortitude are an inspiration to us all. I look forward to us discussing what more we can do to support you and your country.
During their 2-hour meeting, Rishi pledged to send hundreds more air defence missiles and armed drones to Ukraine to help them prepare for their highly anticipated counter-offensive against Russian forces. President Zelensky says he's thankful for Britain's support.
You are with us, together with us, all Great Britain, you and your government. It's very important, so thank you very much for all support.
The PM's meeting with Zelensky comes a week after the UK supplied Ukraine with multiple long-range Storm Shadow cruise missiles that have infuriated Russia. Former Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko says they've already been put to good use.
Your missiles, Storm, which is already has an extremely positive use on the battlefield. From all of the heart, I want to thank you for the leadership and give an example, positive example, to other nations.
The Black Sea grain deal, which sees Russia providing safe passage for Ukrainian grain, was renewed for another 2 months on Wednesday. And the Council of Europe meeting in Iceland agreed to set up a register of damages to track Russia's damages in their war on Ukraine. And US Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, says it's an important step.
What they are doing is unconscionable, and we have to start the process of holding them accountable and have them be called to the mat to pay for the damages that they have caused.
Russia continued to hammer Ukraine with cruise missiles and drone attacks all week in what appears to be an attempt to put the US Patriot air defence system out of commission. Ukraine are continuing to request F-16 fighter jets, but while European allies are happy to assist with training, it appears that the final say rests with the United States. With Ukrainian President Zelensky due to address the G7 summit this weekend, pressure on Joe Biden and the US continues to mount. Meanwhile, UK Defence Secretary held a joint press conference with his Norwegian counterpart Bjorn Arild Gram on the risk from Russia in the North Sea. Ben says that Russians have a number of worrying programmes which are designed to attack undersea cables and pipelines.
What we can say without doubt is Russia has the intent and the capability to target the West's critical national infrastructure. We have to have the intent and the capability to defend it.
Now that the local elections are over, both Labour and the Tories have been spending this week planning ahead for the general election. The weekend saw the Boris Johnson wing of the Tory party, the newly formed Conservative Democratic organisation, hold its inaugural conference in Bournemouth with speeches from Nadine Dorries, Jacob Rees-Mogg and former Home Secretary Priti Patel. And they all want him back.
we have seen the ousting of a democratically elected, in fact, our most electorally successful Prime Minister since Margaret Thatcher.
Members of the Tory right gathered again on Monday. This time they were in London for the 3-day-long National Conservatism Conference organised by the US-based Edmund Burke Foundation. Those in attendance included Home Secretary Suella Braverman, who took to the stage to discuss migration, although her speech took a turn into transphobia instead.
The ethnicity of grooming gangs is the sort of fact that has become unfashionable in some quarters, much like the fact that 100% of women do not have a penis.
The conference was interrupted by both protesters outside and interruptions from the hall. Suella's speech was disrupted twice by the environmental group Extinction Rebellion, and former Brexit Minister Jacob Rees-Mogg was forced to pause his speech too when he was interrupted by perhaps the most polite stage invader of all time.
Ladies and gentlemen, you all look very nice people, and I'm sure you are fantastically nice people, but I would like to draw your attention to few characteristics of fascism.
The conference did raise some eyebrows, with cabinet ministers coming under fire for seemingly using the event to criticise government policy. After Suella Braverman used her speech to stoke culture wars, Conservative MP Robert Buckland says she ought to concentrate on actually being the Home Secretary.
She's got a big job to do. I know she wants to do it. I think getting on and doing that job is exactly where she needs to be.
And Labour's Jonathan Ashworth wanted Rishi to put a stop to the conference.
Rishi Sunak's got to condemn this conference, and if he doesn't condemn this conference and those who've attended it, I think you can conclude it's the modern face of the Tory party.
Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer made an appearance on LBC on Monday morning to answer callers' questions. While he was there, he said he wouldn't immediately overturn the new Anti-Protest Public Order Act, and he also refused to rule out the possibility of a Lib Dem coalition at the next general election. He was discussing plans to change things up when it comes to voting, including giving settled EU citizens the vote and lowering the UK voting age to 16 in line with devolved elections in Scotland and Wales.
Yeah, they can have babies, they can work, they can join the army. So there are big things you can do at 16 and 17. And again, it's not such an outlandish idea. In Wales, it already happens. In Scotland, it already happens.
Sir Keir's voting age comments follow a party debate over the voting system for general elections. Westminster MPs are currently elected through a first-past-the-post system. But last week, Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham said he would support a move towards proportional representation. That sees a single transferable vote and would end the days of simple majorities. But Shadow Financial Secretary James Murray says that's not the party line.
That's not our position in the front bench in Parliament. Our position is that we don't want to change the system of elections for the House of Commons.
Farmers, supermarket bosses and food manufacturers took a trip to Downing Street on Tuesday for a summit on food security. A new £30 million support package for new technology and a further 45,000 visas for seasonal horticulture workers was announced ahead of the summit. And with food and drink prices having risen at their fastest rate in 45 years over the past 12 months, the hot topic was how to tackle inflation. Minette Batters is president of the National Farmers Union and says there's scope for prices to fall.
We started this place from a point of being the third most affordable in the entire world. So I think there is a level of inflation now that is baked in, but obviously some areas they'll be able to look at ways that they can bring the price down.
But Andrew Opie from the British Retail Consortium says government actions needed to help drive prices down.
It's been a massive challenge for our British farmers here and also retailers to get the value, because at the same time we've got customers who are really challenged with their own spending. So keeping that food affordable as possible is a real challenge for everybody in the supply chain.
And it's not just food prices which have soared. The average cost of baby formula has risen by around 22% over the past year, with some parents resorting to shoplifting or following unsafe feeding practices. Claire Murphy, Chief Executive of the British Pregnancy Advisory Service, says formula needs to be accessible for everyone.
All these things that are happening are putting us on the brink of a public health crisis. This isn't a luxury product. This is a necessary product that is fundamental in the first 6 months of a baby's life.
Still to come on the Standout 7, good news for renters and bad news for the climate. Right after this. Welcome back. Wednesday turned out to be good for renters and potentially homeowners as new legislation was tabled in the Commons that could ban so-called no-fault evictions. Housing Minister Michael Gove introduced the Renters Reform Bill, something that was originally promised in the 2019 Conservative manifesto. The bill could also see a new ombudsman appointed to oversee disputes. There was a cautious welcome for the bill from the Renters Reform Coalition, but campaign manager Tom Darling says it still doesn't go far enough.
The government first promised to do this 4 years ago, and it's a long overdue step. So we broadly welcome it, but we will be pushing for even more protections for renters.
The bill will also give people the legal right to have a pet in their home, but Ben Beadle of the National Residential Landlords Association is concerned that his members do still need to have ways to deal with troublesome tenants.
Landlords do not go around evicting tenants willy-nilly. We want to keep people in their homes, but obviously things go wrong, and in those situations where they do go wrong, it is right that landlords can rely on a replacement system.
Labour were also focused on housing on Wednesday, but more on building homes, and leader Sir Keir Starmer announced a new approach to planning laws to promote more home building.
We're going to back the builders, not the blockers. The planning rules don't work, so we need to fix them, give local areas more control about where building takes place, and to create development corporations as the vehicle to drive house building.
Heavy storms have caused chaos in the northern Italian region of Emilia-Romagna, with at least 9 people dead and thousands displaced as 21 rivers have burst their banks. It's led to the cancellation of this weekend's Imola Grand Prix. And that's not the end of the bad weather news. The World Meteorological Organization has warned that we're facing 5 years of unprecedented temperatures as the weather phenomenon El Nino returns and climate change continues. Head of Communications Bridget Perrin says it's going to be pretty bad.
You will see that global temperatures are set to break new records, and that there are unfortunately very good chances that annual temperature will temporarily exceed 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels.
Saturday night saw Liverpool at the centre of Eurovision, Europe's biggest song contest, which ended with Sweden winning, so they'll host on the 50th anniversary of ABBA's win. Liverpool stepped up on behalf of Ukraine, which won in 2022, and the event was truly spectacular, with a choir of former winners performing You'll Never Walk Alone and a guest appearance from the Princess of Wales on piano. Sweden's Loreen becomes only the second person to win for a second time.
This is overwhelming. I'm so happy and I'm so thankful. Thank you for this.
Even hosting this year couldn't improve the UK's chances, with most countries awarding the UK nil points. It meant Britain's May Muller came just 25th overall. That's one from bottom, in case you're wondering.
It's been such a huge honour to see just as many Ukrainian flags in the streets as British flags. It just fills me with so much joy, and I think this is what Eurovision is about.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.